Did you ever wonder why businesses or markets exist? Let me show you one answer. Assume a world in which everyone is totally self-sufficient. You have some cows perhaps to milk, and you grow some grass. You don't need anyone else. There's no trade involved. Everything that you need is produced entirely by yourself. Now that doesn't say that there are other, that you're alone on the world. There are other people who similarly have, just like you, cattle, and who grow some crops. So on one day in this field you may figure out that there's another person just like you, and he or she, if you wish, has, let's give the cow a head, a way bigger cow than you do. But his crops look relatively poor compared to yours. And what you may think is that by working together, since you're both doing the same things, by asking your neighbor to take care of your cow while you produce crops for your neighbor, you may actually both benefit. So what you then engage in, though not necessarily a love relationship, is what is called the division of labor. That is a core concept in economics which has important consequences. First, there are three consequences to share. First, let's focus on you again. You now only have to focus on the production of crops, which you were already quite good at. Since your neighbor now takes care of the cows and he was way better at that part. What you can then do is what we call specialize. You focus on the particular activity that you're good at. So you grow more crops, and by doing so you get better and better at growing crops, and you will see that they grow bigger, they're more nutritious. I don't know what a better crop looks like necessarily, but at least you're able to focus on the task and get better at that. That, by the way, generally leads to a further division of labor, since you then discover that the task that you now have, growing crops, can be further subdivided in multiple subtasks. And again, you can become better at these subtasks that you then share with yet others in the society that you're in. So the division of labor leads to specialization, and the specialization in turn leads to a further division of labor. A second thing that happens is that now you suddenly have more than enough crops, not just to feed you and your neighbor, but there can also be other people in the society that are fed by this same produce that you have. Since you specialize in growing a particular crop, you produce more of those crops with the same effort, and those additional crops can feed additional people who can then specialize in yet other tasks that were previously not available in the society. For example, someone can can start to play music for the society. He's not productive in any way. He doesn't produce any food, no milk, no crops, but he does something that the other inhabitants of the society value, and Hence, the more a society develops, the more complex the activities get. First, because of further specialization, so you focus on a smaller and smaller task, but second, because new jobs arise. For example, in the arts, but also in medicine, people who focus on curing other people, people who focus on defending your rights in a court of law, etc. A third consequence, or the first consequence, is the specialization that happens because of the division of labor. The second is that you now can grow the population because you're more efficient, and hence you get musicians. The third is that you're no longer self-sufficient, which seems quite intuitive, right? If you divide the labor, you're no longer producing everything that you need yourself. What you then engage in is what we call coordination. So you need to figure out a way to exchange with someone else, with all the other people in the society, to coordinate such that you get what you need. So there's this person, that's then you, who has the corns, and you have some of that you need to feed yourself, but there's also stuff that you have left. There's this neighbor of yours who produces the bottles of milk. Let's try to, like this. That's a bottle of milk, in case you wondered. And there are others who, for example, have chickens and they grow eggs. And one way or the other, you would need to figure out a way to exchange your crops for your additional crops, those that you don't use to feed yourself, to exchange those with the milk that the herdsman doesn't need to feed himself, and the eggs that the other person from the chicken farm doesn't need to feed himself. So one extreme would be for all those individuals to join on a central place in the village to exchange their products in a market-like environment. Now there are many intermediate forms, but on the other extreme there could be one person who then instructs the others, those who produce the corn, that will be you, but also those with the bottles of milk and those with the eggs, and he would collect all the excess production from these people and then redistribute it back to the people. And that looks an awful lot like an organization. So there's one person who centralizes the production of all people in the village and redistribute it. So here in the market context, it is the people who decide who gets what based on the prices that they charge each other. And here there's in what we call the organization, there is a central figure, a boss, who decides who gets what. And there's a branch of economics, I won't go into that right now, a branch of economics which we call transaction cost economics, which is concerned with the question of whether a particular deal, so for example exchanging crops for milk, takes place in the market or is better organized with the central figure in a hierarchy, in an organization setting.